I am going to take you back to middle school. I know, middle school is hard, but I want you to think about who you were when you were 13. What labels were used to describe you? Now think of the students who were chosen to be leaders. What labels did adults use to describe them? Merriam-Webster defines leadership as the capacity to lead. That leaves an awful lot up to interpretation. I learned some leadership lessons the hard way early in my teaching career. Like the time when I planned a student-led field day. Well, I called it student-led, but really I was in control of what those kids did and how they did it. I also had a student all named Sarah. We labeled Sarah a busybody, a social butterfly, a chatty Kathy. So when Sarah asked me if she could be part of student leadership, I told her she didn't qualify. What I remember was her reaction. She wasn't angry. She was ashamed. That loss was mine and future Sarah, the one who didn't get to become the leader she could have been because I didn't think she was ready. Instead of lifting Sarah, I left her with a feeling of shame. I became a teacher to lift student voices. But this experience showed me how often I fell short in my own leadership. I wasn't teaching leadership. I was rewarding compliance. To teach leadership, I would have had to let my students try and fail. Probably struggle. That would have been uncomfortable for all of us. With Sarah, I would have had to consider what she needed, not what I wanted. As a new or overworked teacher, I was focused on survival. That was how potential got missed. I couldn't keep working in a system that asked teachers to do more with less, all the while overlooking the students who needed my encouragement most. I had seen another approach to this work, a train-the-trainer model. In schools, it would look like students as participants and leaders. Leaders developing leadership skills through practice and sharing what they had learned with others. I needed evidence, but I was a science teacher, so I treated it like an experiment. I tested, I observed, I adjusted. This idea became Peers Not Fears. Leadership development specifically designed for the students we overlook and the ones who challenge us. The results? Leadership development is simple, but it requires courage. Courage to be uncomfortable. We have to look for students who challenge us, who don't think they can be leaders. they don't know, they can be leaders. And that's the point. Leadership is not something you're born with. It's a skill you develop over time with practice. In leadership development work, I choose students who challenge us, who push back, who don't see themselves as leaders. Not because they're ready, but because we all deserve to learn leadership if someone is willing to teach us. A year ago, I began working with a group of 13-year-olds, back to middle school. This group consisted of students labeled challenging and students who didn't identify themselves as leaders. I want to tell you about a student I'll call Zach. Zach had many labels. One was defiant. But unlike Sarah, I had an opportunity to grow as a leader myself. From day one, Zach told me and everyone else this leadership program is dumb. The attitude, the resistance, oh yeah. I was excited, but nervous. Could this experiment work for a student like Zach? Could I do what I had promised and teach him leadership? One thing I knew, resistance met with resistance wouldn't work. So I let Zach choose when and how he would participate. He didn't at first, but when he saw his peers having fun, he was curious. I use games to teach leadership. Games that require me to be vulnerable. Zach and his peers connected with that vulnerability. We were building trust. One day after Zach engaged, I left knowing this was the evidence. Over the next 3 months, Zach's behavior shifted. He still pushed back, especially when I changed or added something new. He was testing me. Would I reject him? You would have seen defiance. I saw experimentation. Would my system be different from the system that had spent years telling him he wasn't a leader? It all changed in the fall. When those 8th graders came back, I told them they were going to teach what they had learned to the 6th graders. Zach immediately said, "Yo, I'm cooked." For those not fluent in 8th grade language, what he was telling me was he was sure he would fail. He was looking to see if the trust we had built would really allow him to grow. When the audience changed, so did he. He walked into that 6th grade group nervous. But those 6th graders immediately connected with him. They looked up to Zach. He experienced a new confidence. He was leading. My lesson was learning from my mistake with Sarah to change how I would interact with Zach. These 2 students taught me learning from your mistakes is true leadership in action. We have to look for leadership beyond compliance and perceived perfection. When we do, we see that leadership is not one size fits all. Middle school has the opportunity to teach us the most valuable lessons to become our best leader. The question isn't, are our young people ready to lead? It's, are we adults willing to accept that mistakes and discomfort are part of developing leadership?